Hi, I'm Joan Cartan Hansen. Thank you for joining us for this Dialogue Web Extra. We're continuing our discussion about jobs and the economy. Let's go to our caller. Let's see if we can get John in Cascade. John, are you there?
Yes, I
Yay.
am.
Thank you for calling back. Go ahead and give us your question.
Well, I'd just like your comment on you can go into any of the stores here in Idaho or any place else for that matter in this country. You can go into Home Depot, Lowe's, Cabela's, or Sears, or those kind of stores, and I'd venture to say that 90% of the items that they sell is made somewhere besides the United States, mainly China, Mexico, or what have you. It's a worldwide economy, and we're the high-cost producers in this country. Yet I think there's a lot of things we could do to encourage some of these companies to move their production facilities back into the United States, including Idaho.
Well, let's throw that out to the panel. I'm going to put you on hold so you can hear the answer. Is there something we can do to encourage that, or is that ship sailed?
Well, I don't think that ship has sailed. I mean, I think there are industrial policies that we could pursue that would help improve the competitiveness of U.S. companies. One is tax policies that basically reward companies for moving production offshore. At least we could, I mean, maybe not disincent it, but at least not give it benefits. Again, to beef up our investment in human capital will, I mean, right now you have developing countries that are cranking out more engineers and highly skilled workers. I mean, if you look at the tech world in the United States, there are lots of folks here on, I think it's the HB1 visas from places like India, where they have a vast educated workforce that are basically jobs that we should be able to fill, but can't because we don't have the skill sets and the education level here to fill those jobs. So we're importing those workers as well as exporting the production in other cases. So I think, you know, I sound like a broken record, I'm sure, but I mean, I keep coming back to we need to enhance our investment in human capital, because that's the only way we'll have the kind of competitiveness that will give us good jobs and maintain quality of life and standard of living. It won't happen otherwise.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much, John, for your call. I appreciate it. Let's go to James and McCall. James, go ahead.
Hi. Great comment by John about losing, basically most of our manufacturing coming from offshore and the goods we buy. But I wonder if the panel has thought a little more deeply about the loss of capital from all of the corporations, not only in Idaho, but the rest of the country, that have moved all of these jobs offshore, that go for the lowest common denominator but pay no penalty whatsoever in loss of jobs, corporate taxes, increases, anything that goes to fill the gap to what the professor said is to help educate the workers for a newer economy. We have no backstop there, so I'd love to understand what their opinion is on this vacuum created by the loss of corporate jobs offshore.
Steve, can I toss this one your way?
I'm sorry?
I'm going to
Sure.
go ahead and have Steve answer.
As I understand the questioner's question is, he would like to know, do we have enough capital to invest and make Idaho and the United States competitive in manufacturing? And in my opinion, the answer is absolutely yes. That's why not only do I emphasize education, but I also emphasize research and development. It's the new ideas that Americans are so capable of that are going to change the competitive advantage of American manufacturing. And it's going to be the new ideas that are on the high end of production. It's the software design, not necessarily the hardware production in computers and high tech that Americans are especially good in. That's why I'm practically desperate to have Idahoans be more well educated and to have more research and development and to have more investment in infrastructure, because those are the kinds of things that are going to make Idaho productive and competitive at the high end for high wages.
One of our Facebook questions came in from Gens on how does having broadband access to the internet, as in public libraries or public access computing, how would that change the situation for the underemployed and the unemployed in rural Idaho?
We've had an interesting project the last year and a half in conjunction with the libraries who received a grant to put broadband in 140 rural libraries. We have worked to develop new job search materials. We have a new job search workbook, a new job search online tutorial. All of our information, as with everyone else's, is online. That's how most work gets done these days. So I think using the libraries and making this information available as close to home to people as possible always gives them better opportunities to take advantage of the tools that are out there. We had one interesting little experiment this summer that I hope we can carry out again, where we had young people from those communities actually training out of work individuals on how to use computers and how to use those tools and build their own skills as they were building the skills of the patrons. So I think all of these small efforts can help in the big scheme.
Rick would like to know if he would greatly appreciate it if someone could give us a concrete comparison of how our state, Idaho, is doing in terms of job creation compared to other states. Steve, how's Idaho doing?
Idaho is doing excellent in job generation. It's the thing we can point to with pride. It has above the national average in wage growth by a lot. The problem isn't job generation in Idaho. The problem is low wages in Idaho. And how we change that is the very difficult problem. If I could add one point to this question that sort of addresses the previous question about capital. There are two kinds of capital. One is public capital and the other is private capital. And it seems to me private capital will follow where there's a commitment by public capital to provide the infrastructure necessary for business to grow and do well and prosper. And it's not clear to me that Idaho is making that commitment. It has a commitment to a small government, low taxes, and a low level of services. And that's okay for some sectors of the economy. But I would argue that that's not going to be enough to attract high-tech business to Idaho. They're going to want to know that Idaho is committed, and therefore, in my view, there's a lack of commitment in public capital to attract high-tech business to the state.
And I know you want to jump in here.
I do, and you can't have economists on a program without a little bit of disagreement. Idaho, I agree with Steve in the sense that for several decades, Idaho was at the top of the charts in terms of economic performance, particularly as measured by job growth. But since the Great Recession began, Idaho has been bringing up the caboose. We basically went into the downturn earlier, we went into the downturn deeper, and we're coming out of the downturn more slowly. And that's continuing to this day. So we have seen a fundamental change. Idaho had grown accustomed over a couple of decades to being at the top of the charts, and we simply are no longer there. Now, this is obviously in the context of a major recession, so that's not normal, but it does represent an enormous change because it wasn't the situation in the 2001 recession, it wasn't the situation in the 91 recession. We skipped that one.
I have one last question from Facebook. Why are people, this is from Celia, why are people not provided with more meaningful public transportation in order to reduce the number of personally acquired four-wheel vehicles on the road? The jobs bill does put money into transit. Do you think you will ever see it in Idaho? Or are we just too small? The Treasure Valley may not be, but
I think
I don't know.
you probably have a little bit of a cultural issue here with people wanting to have independence in their own vehicle. I mean, I think, it takes probably a certain threshold in size before people start feeling comfortable with mass transit, and that becomes more of an accepted mode of transportation. I know
There
it's
is
already-
there is a nice little organization, Community Transportation Association of Idaho, that is connecting individuals to the public transportation we have, and seeking alternatives, whether we'll get more investment and do it. I think it's a matter of maturing and evolution. We'll get there.
We'll grow our way out of that.
Well, on that note, we'll go ahead and wrap up. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you all joining us. Steve there in Moscow, Mike, Cheryl, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
in this Dialogue Web Extra.